right? But if you're mowing a lady's lawn that's worth $1 million, she's worth a lot of money, but then you've got another widow that can't afford to, you don't have two nickels rubbed together. See, resources. We have limited resources, so we want to work on trying to maybe hire a lawn man to cut her lawn while you go over to the other lady and help her cut hers. So it's that sort of thing. Kevin, is that making sense? Okay. You haven't thrown anything at me yet, so, right? Yes, ma'am.
You've addressed it, but I think it's worth reiterating, just so that maybe have a better understanding. Advanced directives, things like your durable power of attorney or healthcare surrogate, designating who's going to step in if you're in some way unable to. What we run into quite often is, people plan mostly for old age, but they don't plan for losing their memory and devastating, things like a stroke. But once that happens, they can no longer contract. If they can't remember tomorrow what they might have signed today, that contract may not be binding, could even be considered exploitation, depending what kind of contract it was. So when you're put in a position of educating about whether they've already done their advance directives, or if they're very old, if they drafted their power of attorney or their will 20 years ago, it should be revisited. I think the rule of thumb is at least every 5 years. But while they're still cognitive, while they're still sharp enough, now is the time. It could be too late. And if it is too late, it leaves it up to the state and the court system to determine who's going to make decisions for them. And they'd be lucky to have any of the three of us. But there are many others out there that do what we do with just a different philosophy, and it's usually very controlling. They lose a lot of their liberty.
A woman in this church, I've been helping her, the court was considering allowing the kids of the demented dad to divorce the mom. And the mom didn't want it because she fell into the system because the advance directives weren't in place ahead of time. And so the court, lovely judge, but the laws are void of God and void of reason and common sense and all those other things. So we want to swim upstream and have advance directives in place. You guys too should all have advance directives. I have mine, but then my brother's a lawyer, so I understand how expensive it might be. As far as before reconcile family, you know that if a child doesn't take care of their family members, they're worse than an infidel, worse than an unbeliever. We want to do what we can to reconcile family because this is your best source or resource, right? To get the widow to, so tell me about your children. Well, Robin and I were with a widow the other day together from the church here, not a widow, a married couple from the church here. And she mentioned her daughter, but didn't want a lot to do with her daughter in Hollywood. Well, why is there a problem? No judgment. No judgment. We don't know what happened. Just try to get the two reconciled as best as you can, because that's your best resource. Observation, identify risk, a change in behavior. This starts really out in the parking lot and then our greeters. I would love to teach the greeters, because this change in behavior, if they've all of a sudden changed in how they're talking or what they're wearing, there's a change in behavior, a change in mental status, and so something's happening. And so we want to try to address that. Have a buddy system just for you guys to find out which service your widow's going to, and then try to see if they need help getting to church. The people out here, as they see somebody not driving very well, maybe beefing up the bus system, whatever. So it's, again, a 2 to 5 year plan, but we want to try to get people to worship and whatnot. Kind of a side note, this is one of my mantras I keep saying, and no one's yelled at me yet. I would love to see one of the rooms designated as a adult day, so the person with dementia can enjoy church with a monitor while the spouse is in the church service and or Sunday school enjoying fellowship. And we have all the resources we need and especially going to 3 services, that might even be more of an opportunity to try to, over the next year or two, to have a room designated, equipped and staffed with trained people that can take care of the person with dementia, so their spouse can be in church. Yes, sir.
What if one of our widows stops coming to worship, that it only like goes to Sunday school? I mean, I have a widow that I try to encourage her to come to worship, but she goes to Sunday school but not worship.
Well, that's, we do what we can. We maybe bring a bulletin, maybe bring a sermon to her, whatever. Certainly worship, we want them to worship. Maybe ask why, and they might not do both. Particularly elderly people, I think they have a strong, we all do really, all strong sense of belonging. We want to belong, and in a assembly where we don't talk a lot to other people, that's really where we want to be, worship and hear the Word of God. But in a Sunday school class, we're able to fellowship and so on. So there's probably a deficit there that needs to be addressed. What are they missing? So observe where, parking lot, lobby, services, all these places, we're constantly, again, going back to the why, that we really want to constantly be on the alert and vigilant about what's going on and why. Identify risk, and I'm not going to read all of these, but I love music from the 70s, for good and for bad, but help, I need somebody help, not just anybody help. A lot of people are crying for that. So don't assume, and I, by the way, I know, and y'all do, Pastor Dennis, you especially do, there are plenty of people in this church that look like they have it all together. They're busted up inside. They're crushed. And so, getting us back to ministering to them, sharing your love, saying hi to them, giving them a hug, whatever. And so when you're visiting at home, are their doors locked when you go up to visit with them? Carpet curled. If it's curled, they can trip, fall, break their hip, and die within 3 months. Second marriage. If there's a second marriages are very, very difficult. No judgment. Whatever happened. They love Jesus. We want to especially bring the professionals in on second marriages because there's a lot to do. And Pastor Dennis, this is a plea for you. I have 2 gifts. One is counseling people that are considering getting married in a second marriage. I know all the questions to ask because I deal with this all the time. And the other one is at the end of life, the deathbed. I'm very gifted in that area. Unopened mail. If you see a stack of mail on the table, there's a problem, and so we want to address it. If the meds are disorganized, if you see med bottles here, there, everywhere, there's a problem. You might want to ask yourself, may I get a glass of water? They give you permission, open their fridge. Is it a science project or does it look clean and tidy? Because they're getting sick because they're not managing their food well or their medicine. A third of seniors that admit to hospital is because of medication mismanagement. 30% of our seniors are in the hospital because they mismanage their medications. That's simple. A yapper dog at the feet of elderly people, they're trip hazards, etc. That's just a concern. And hygiene issues. And then while they're at church, these are some other things that you can look at, okay? That making sense? All right. Sir?
You mentioned yapper dog could be a problem. Did you have a suggestion? Because a lot of people, you're not prying a dog away from them, even if there's issues with it.
Slip the dog a bunch of chocolate. No, erase that. You just have to be aware of it, and you do what you can. A lot of people trip over their dogs and die soon. And a lot of people won't leave their home to go move elsewhere because that facility won't take a dog. We have all sorts of places that will take the dogs, cats, and other animals. So, you know, so yes, so there's plenty of opportunities to get them in a safe environment. So, you know, I have some of the biggest challenges with animals. So, okay, during a crisis, these are the stages: call 911, ambulance ride. This again is a goal that I'd like for our church to consider, to have a 24/7 hotline, and over the next year or two, where our goal would be that no one is left alone in ER. No one. And then hospital, rehab, and returning home. And again, it's so painful when I see ER, elderly person, anybody left alone.
You know, even on the simplest level, just one of the things that we've discovered over the years is that in the ER, you may be very familiar with a particular widow, and if you go, you may have information about who the next of kin is or the emergency contact, and you go to the ER and you provide that information to the medical staff. It does not communicate once they're admitted upstairs. The information does not go with them. They go upstairs, they may have the previous address where they were, they might have the deceased husband as the next of kin. So having someone with a representative or an advocate in the ER is very important. And when they get admitted, communicating again to that staff, on that the nursing staff.
Right, and the buzzword, thank you, because I skipped by that, continuity of care. It's so very important. What happens is, person goes to ER, doctor prescribes meds, new meds, not knowing what the old meds were. And then they go upstairs to the hospital, and the doctor is going to prescribe different meds because it's a different doctor. Then they go to a rehab facility, now it's a new doctor, they're going to prescribe more meds. And then when they send them home, they're going to say, here's your meds to take home with you. And then they're taking the new set of drugs, and they're also going to take the old drugs that they took before. So now they're doubling up, and they get very confused. 30% of admits is because of medication, mismanagement. But continuity of care, my rule of thumb is that if somebody is in ER, they need an RN case manager. And we have, you guys have RN case managers that we use. And it's the best money anyone will ever spend, is an RN case manager to work with that. While away, how can we help? While somebody's in the hospital.
Rob, before,
Yes, ma'am.
kind of maybe go over what a RN case manager can do.
Please.
That's going to be a huge resource for you, especially the elders. Yes.
You're saying RN case
Nurse.
manager?
Yeah,
Yeah,
nurse
registered
case
nurse.
Registered nurse case manager.
And they can come out and do a one-time medication review, which might be really helpful. They can maybe do a whole medical assessment if the person needs more care, and there's a very complicated medical. They can go with them to the doctors. They can do a lot, but even just at least a one-time medication review is well worth it. Some of them will come out and consult, do a 1 hour consult type of thing as well. But definitely worth an investment.
They can do medication management and come out twice a month or even once a month and fill the medication boxes and try to simplify and standardize the medications.
They would know if they're taking multiple medications, I don't know as well.
They
We
can
would
consult the
know.
different doctors with permission and be able to ensure that there's not duplication, that they're taking the right doses, that they're taking what the doctor prescribed, not what they have in the bottle. You know, I've definitely run into situations where the wife ran out of her medicine, but the husband didn't feel well enough to go to the pharmacy, so he gave her some of his. They took the same medicine, completely different doses. And she was a tiny petite woman and he was a large man, and it was disastrous. She was okay, but
Right.
it took a while.
Yes, sir.
How would somebody go about appropriating one of these RN case managers?
Well, again, what I would suggest is I'm available myself for some questions and whatever. These two ladies are also very available, and so between the three of us, we can do assessments, ask questions over the phone, visit with you and the widow. Pastor, if you've got a situation in the hospital, call one of us, get us involved. Again, as a rule of practice, as a deacon, I walk a fine line because I can give a couple hours free, and I do all the time, but there comes a point when I can't, and that's why a big reason I've asked Robin and Lisa to be here, because there's no conflict there, right? Am I saying that right, Kevin?
Yeah, no, I understand.
Okay, it is a difficult line we walk, but all of us, for 10 years I've been doing this, we all give a couple hours free. That's just what we all do. And then, at some point it's like, hey, I need to, I mean, not me, but we need to start charging that sort of thing. Is that
We can give you
okay?
the nurse case manager's phone numbers to contact.
Right. Okay, so,
But who would manage these medication that, the person would, like, say, lay out in a month? I mean, does somebody there making sure that they take it
right.
when they're supposed to?
Yes, sir. What would happen is all three of us know of many different systems that are available that Medicare pays for many of them. I call it a flying saucer, but it's a 30-day dispenser, and that's something you rent for $30 or so a month, and Medicare might pay for some or all of it, TRICARE might pay for it. It's just knowing the resources. And so each situation is a little different, and so that's why calling somebody in that can manage those, understand the problems and then manage the resources is very helpful. So you've got different types of dispensers, you've got bubble packs, you've got a lot of different ways you can manage the meds.
Depends on their abilities.
A flying saucer one would be automatic, so they can't keep
It's
opening.
electronic, it's connected to a phone system, and what happens is,
To me.
say they take their medications at 8 AM and 8 PM, an alarm goes off at 8 AM, and the only way to turn the alarm off is to open the door, the compartment door, they take out their meds and close it. The alarm goes off at 8 PM. If they don't get to it, maybe they took a fall, maybe they're out and not home for the medication. It'll keep going off, the alarm keeps going, then it calls the house, tries to reach the person. If there's no answer, it's set up with a next of kin or an emergency number. So many times, we've gotten a phone call to say, by the way, they haven't taken their medication since 8 AM this morning.
Right.
That alarm alerts us to,
Yeah.
make a visit.
So really the bottom line there is we're not asking you guys to set up medication, okay? We're saying that there's resources out there that are available, and you just have to be aware of those. We're gonna go on to this right here. So while we're away, again, recruit family members, very important. And then pets, by the way, if somebody's at the hospital, who's taking care of the goldfish at home?
The toilet bowl.
The cat.
Yeah.
And so we may want to offer to look after Skippy while the widow is in the hospital, and paying bills and being paraklete, which is an advocate, whatever. Yes, sir. Sir?
So how do we know when one of our widow or widowers is in the hospital? Does that word come to us through the office or?
Well, I think, Kevin, we talked about it a couple seconds over. It's just something that we're just working on how to get that
So
going.
there's not something in place already, would you say?
No, but,
Let me just give you an example,
Sure.
and this isn't refined yet. When I was, heading up hospital visitation, we'd get names of people, and if I knew that, I would check my widow's list to see if one of them, if they were on there, and then I would send an email to the deacon whose widow that was. So that's a possibility of how we do something like that.
Yes, but the question, that's just for the weekend. I mean, you have Monday through Thursday as well to look at, right? I mean, then even Saturday or Sunday, somebody may end up going to the hospital even that time. And we may not even know anything until Monday.
right, so what I want to say is we're all working on that. And over time, working with the church and the resources and the phone systems and texting and all that, it's all going to get better. So
I just didn't know if there was already something in place, and that's why I was
No.
just asking.
No, not foolproof.
Not yet. Okay, so while somebody's not in home, while they're away somewhere, maybe you could help pick up their mail for them, or talk to a neighbor, or talk to that family member, or partner with 2 or 3 other people in the church. If we know that one member lives nearby, there's all sorts of things. Perishables, perishables. If they're gone for a month, chances are that a lot of science projects have started in the fridge. So maybe you and your daughter you and your son can go over, and with permission, of course. And as a ministry, you can clean out the fridge for them. Maybe restock the fridge. If they have money, maybe they want to pay for it. So these are all sorts of suggestions of ways that you can minister. And it doesn't always have to be, David, it doesn't have to be you. It could be another person from the church that has this ministry. And where's that Bible verse? If we build it, they will come. Is it like Proverbs 32, I think? Verse 5? Or that's Field of Dreams with Kevin Costner. So dirty clothes. The dirty clothes hamper might be half full, and a month later, it's pretty yucky. And so some of these things are good to do in the first week, and that way you're not having to go in a month or so later. One of my very first cases, even before before Lisa, was 3 weeks after a woman went to the hospital ambulance. I was called in by the hospital. I went to her apartment, and her 40-pound dog had evaporated into the carpet. It was disgusting. And this was her family. This is all she had. And the family, or her dog, had died of starvation, and it was a disgusting scene. And so we want to really work on, okay, somebody's in the hospital. Good question, Pastor Thomas, when you're in the hospital. So do you have animals at home? Did you leave your spouse at home? Do they know what they're doing? And so on. And home maintenance is another one. Okay. I wanted to get to this screen, recalibrating our understanding of death. And I think it's so vitally important that I put some Bible verses down here on the bottom, but I would suggest, including myself until I got into this guardianship, to recalibrate our own view of death and dying, and looking at it possibly as a celebration. And I'm very gifted in this area, and a lot of it's experience. I think also it's a calling from God. But if ever any of you guys, Lisa and Robin, they're also wonderful at deathbeds. I'm always available, always, 24/7. It doesn't matter when you call me, I'm there. So,
What do you mean by that?
sir?
What do you mean by that? You're gifted in that area.
End of life.
No one can
Well-
die alone.
Yeah,
Okay.
right. I've probably been by the deathbed maybe 30, 40 times of somebody that did die while I was there. And it's managing the family, it's managing the resources, it's saying the right things, it's being sensitive to, believe it or not, you guys probably don't believe this, but I used to get people to laugh while their loved one is dying. And I've not gotten any complaints, so I hope I haven't ever upset anybody. But it's recalibrating what death is all about. Jesus, when Lazarus died, Jesus wept. Why did he weep? He knew Lazarus was going to rise again. He knew that was going to happen. He did it because he understood that death was a penalty that we all pay because of our old sin nature. However, man, we get to live forever. And so we're released from our bodies when we get to go into heaven. So with that, I hope this works. Can you do your fancy thing? Tim Hawkins, you want to push a button there?
I don't know which button.
I don't know, it's probably in the middle somewhere.
Kevin knows. Not that true.
It's in the middle probably. Whoops. There you go. It's a minute and a half though.
Little buffering problem.
Might be a minute and 55.
Okay, well, you'll just have to go to my website later and look at it. Okay. Finding resources. This, I'm going to blow through these pages real quick. I just want to familiarize yourself with them. Where's my badge? Do you have it, Kevin, today? Okay. So, what we do is guardians, case managers, we have a badge, different kinds of badges, but we wear it around our neck, and people say all sorts of extra things to us because we look official. It's magical. It's like, can I say magical in a Baptist church? Is that a bad word? Is that okay?
It's like a Disney magical.
Oh, Disney magical. So what happens is this is new for Kevin. I just showed him this evening, but I'd like to bring these to our deacons meeting in January. So if you guys want to have this, so on the front is a picture. You're going to help me with the fanciness and all that. But that's a picture. This tells them that you're a deacon from First Baptist. Got your ugly mug. And if you need a picture of somebody else, like I did, feel free to. We'll find Robert Redford or somebody else for you. And then these are just some different checklists. You guys can look through the checklist before you go in to visit somebody. Checklists are always wonderful. This right here, I won't say it's Abraham Maslow's 5 laws of hierarchy of because, but I really think he was really onto something. So really at the very bottom, they're basically, you can't share the gospel with somebody if they're hungry. You got to put food in their belly before. That's what Jesus did, right? If somebody's tired, if somebody's, I got to look at my cheat notes here, thirsty, if they're warm, or if they're cold. You know, you want to take care of their physical needs. That's what Jesus did all the time. He took care of their physical needs. As he took care of their physical, now that was taken care of. Now he could minister to the soul, which is eternal, versus the temporal. So the wood, hand, stubble, a lot of us, that's what we do all in our lives. That's what we do. But the wood, hand, stubble gets us to the gold, silver, and precious jewels. So at any rate, so there's just, and so in January we'll have something for all you guys, but this you can take with you and you can take it to the hospital. The other day I visited some people in the hospital and the nurses told me a lot of things they shouldn't have told me, but it's because they thought I was official. So that was kind of fun.
Please just don't use the picture of the director.
Yes. Okay, so let's see. Finding resources. First of all, Knowledge College, we gave a seminar here. We had about 56 people. And we're giving seminars. This is probably the most exciting one. Health First. Can I tell y'all a secret? Is that okay?
If it's a secret, don't tell us.
Health First is spending a whole lot of money to host a seminar. And our professors are God-fearing Christian people. We love Jesus. And Health First is paying for the seminar. And we're going to speak on 3.5 hours like we did here at this church. And we've done at Covenant Pres. And yet it's marketplace ministry at its finest. Because we're trying to bring the gospel out to the marketplace. That we're going to be speaking to unbelievers, people that have never been in church before. At this particular event, they've asked us not to talk about Christ, and that's okay. However, Riverview and Malabar Baptist, they're going to be partnering together, and Pastor Wayne is going to preach the gospel. Riverview is paying for the whole event. And so I'm just very excited about this marketplace ministry. And yes, you could say I'm brilliant, but I just kind of wing it as I go, and God's doing it. So it's not me, it's God. But I'm just very excited that we're moving, we're going out into the marketplace to minister to the needs, with it giving us the opportunity to share Christ. Because I don't think I said it yet this evening. Well over 50% of people in Bart will not come through the doors of our church. They're not coming. They're done with church, or they never went. And that means that we have to go out into the world, into Harris Corporation and wherever it is we work. We have to share Christ out there because they're not coming to the building. And so really, I think it's a good place to be anyway, because that's what Christ's model was. But obviously we want to bring them into worship and under good teaching of Pastor Scott. These are some of the professors. Sheriff Ivy will be speaking at, I'm not sure if he's a Christian, but he's a great sheriff, so he's invited to join us. And so these are some of our speakers. And this is an agenda of the seminar. This right here, this is on our website. If you guys want to have fun, just clicking some of these links, you'll have a lot of fun with these songs and videos. And then these are some wonderful movies. Ultimate Gift, wonderful movie. And something that, y'all ever heard of the term, where there's a will, there's relatives? That's very true. Where there's a will, there's relatives. And this is a very, very good story about that. Driving Miss Daisy, wonderful, Still Mine. Amore, I've not seen that. I hope these are good movies to refer. Robin, I think you told me about Tuesdays with Maureen, right? I think.
Yeah.
And Quartet. The best movie of all time is Enchanted with Giselle over there, but that's because I'm a grandpa. So, but yeah, so again, just some good movies to watch. 11 Truths. Be kind to your kids, they'll choose your nursing home. And Adam, right now with your young children, the way you minister, especially when they see you minister, you're basically making your own bed when you're in your 80s and 90s. Because if your kids see you ministering, and they come with you and y'all minister together, then when it's your turn, they've seen you minister and they'll minister to you.
I like the sound of that.
Yes, yes. And then some other wonderful 11 Truths checklist. I'm just going to go, you guys can read them later, but these are general thoughts that are good when we're getting ready to visit with somebody. And then another checklist, before a crisis. These are things to look at before there's something bad going on. This is during a crisis, and again, we'll go through that. I just wanted to skip through these to try to get you guys to go back to this website, back to these pages and look. And then after a crisis, these are things that you can do. And Pastor Dennis, this was particularly with you in mind. There might be some things in there that would be helpful for you, kind of recalibrate what you're doing there. Robin, take maybe 2 minutes to tell us where you and I were on, when was that Monday? Monday. So Pastor Dennis, he asked us to go visit a married couple.
He is ailing, he does have terminal diagnosis, 2 of them in fact, and she is now in a position where she is the primary caregiver. Absolutely wonderful couple, but it was eye-opening for her. She recently got into 2 car accidents, and she pulled off, she was off to the side of the road, but even telling the story, she was so tearful. She was very, very prideful, but really broke down in tears a couple times because she realized at that moment she couldn't go home because it would worry him that she came home too soon. And so she had to just wait there, and she sat in her car and she cried for a while, realizing how alone she really was. She does have a daughter, but doesn't want to burden her daughter. And her daughter's a single mother and working and can't really come away from her own job. So it was an opportunity. There's plenty of opportunity to provide them with resources, some in-home care as they need it. He will need hospice. She's not sure whether that's okay to do right now, and she's second guessing whether it's okay. He's ready. She's not.
So let me jump in there. So Rob and I, we walked in. Sorry about that. Hopefully it still works. So Rob and I walked in together, and I said to the couple, I said, "Look, I'm a brand new deacon, so go easy on me." And Robin and I, we've not done this together, so recently. So go easy on us. And church people, they're just as forgiving as can be. So if you guys say, "Hey, I got this checklist. Do you mind if I check it once or twice?" They're going to be okay with that. They're going to be fine with it. They just love you being there, right? So don't be So don't, you know, for many years, I thought I had to know all there ever was to know about anything, and I tried to fool people, and in retrospect, I look like an idiot. Because people can see right through that. So it's okay to say, look, you know, this is new for me, I'm a little nervous, I don't really know what I'm doing, kinda, and they'll be good with it, okay? So,
Rob, if I could just say something, back on that.
Yes, sir.
List, I think the next to last point there, praying for the patient, is, in my opinion, the most important point when we ever visit somebody in the hospital. And so, I think that it's important to always, ask the person if it's okay if you pray with them, and then ask them if there's anything specific that they'd like for you to pray about.
right. And you might also offer to pray for the nurse that comes in the room. Ma'am, is there anything I could be praying for you? And also the other patient in the room. Offer to pray for them.
And,
So-
Michael, you asked at the, Deacon meeting about what you do if you go in to visit somebody that can't communicate, patient that can't communicate. The last hospital visit that I made here, was just that. It was an older man, I didn't, and of course, the way it usually is, you go in, you don't have any idea how old this person is, what's wrong with them, or, you know, what their circumstance is. And I, you know, tried to talk to him and realized real quick that he can communicate with me. I just, told him who I was, told him I was a deacon, that I just wanted to let him know that, and I don't know if he's a member or if he's just a friend of somebody. I just told him that, you know, wanted to let him know that we, cared about him and concerned about him. And I told him that my wife and I, would pray for him. And I said, if you don't mind, I'm just gonna pray for you right now. And the whole time, I mean, he couldn't respond to me, and he just sort of nodded a little bit. And I prayed with him and told him that I hope things go well with him and everything, but yeah, so I mean, you can only, obviously you can only do, but that's just a suggestion.
So, Lisa, give us some final thoughts, some takeaways. You gotta speak loud. Why don't you come up here? Lisa, come on. You gotta be on the camera.
Let me address one last thing if I can. Go ahead, think about what you're gonna say, but, working with patients that have passed on hospice, hearing is the very last thing to go in a lot of cases. So while you may have someone who's not responsive, you can often see an eyebrow move or, you know, a little bit of a twitch, even though you think that they're moments from death. So continue to pray and say it out loud, and very, very possible they do.
We found that on the deathbed times also, that you can sing songs with them, you know, sing with them, just sing to them. And even in the hospital. I think that just cheers them up as well. And Rob always likes to sing with people, that always makes them smile. I sing with them, they kind of cringe, sing.
Not true, not true.
One thing I didn't mention, you mentioned hospice, and hospice has a program called palliative care. People think hospice, you know, they're like, oh, it's the end of life, and right at death's door. But that's not always true. Hospice has a program called palliative care, where it comes in even years before the person dies, but they have a terminal illness. But they'll come out, hospice will send caregivers into the home twice a week to help do bathing and change the bedding, those kind of things. And then we'll have a nurse will come once a week, and I believe the doctor will come check on them once a month. So they can be on palliative care for years. And some people get on hospice, and then they rebound. They start, you know, their medications are controlled and all that. They end up rebounding, and they get off hospice. And then if they need it again down the road, you can get them restated again in hospice. Hospice is a really good thing, some great hospice programs. Hospice in St. Francis, we use a lot, so it's a good program, just something to kind of stick in the back. Thank you, Mike. What other things? I think just being patient, showing grace, and, you know, and trying to be in their shoes, you know, what they're going through. I think so much of it, you mentioned earlier, is fear. They're just afraid of all the changes, all the losses, afraid of death, you know, all the, and try to address their fear and their pride. You know, they're so prideful, and as we all are, I know, I'm guilty too. It's just that, you know, it's so hard for them to release and to share information, you know, just building that trust.
Thank you. And so, I think just in closing, guys, that again, it's why are we here and how can we more effectively, we're always learning. I've been at this 10 years full-time, and I make mistakes, and we're afraid to make mistakes. That's pride, isn't it? We're afraid to look like we don't know everything. That's pride. And you know, God has a lot to say about pride, and it's all negative. And so I think we have to get beyond that, and just you know, minister, let people know that you're learning, you're reading, a lot of the videos you're going to see that. One thing she mentioned, which Michael, in answer to your question about the person that can't talk, one of the videos that you'll see, if I can, let me, one of these videos up here, well, now I can't find it. Oh, there he is, this black fella here. This man, he would sit catatonic like this 24/7 other than sleeping. He was like this. But when and you watch this video and you put headphones on him, and this man comes alive, it's jazz. He loves jazz because it's connecting to his time when he was a young man. And so music is the window and the avenue to the soul. And so singing to somebody, bring the church bulletin with you. These are the songs we sung. This is what Pastor preached on. They don't have to talk back. My daughter was in a coma for 3 weeks, and after her coma, she said to me, "Dad, remember when?" I said, "Honey, you weren't." She said, "Dad, I remember." So my daughter remembered many things during her comatose state. So never assume that they can't hear you, even on the deathbed, with a minute or two left before they breathe their last. Assume they can hear. And 1 Corinthians 15, a wonderful chapter to read about the promise of the resurrection, the empty tomb, reading out of the Gospels, reminding people, encouraging people. And so these are all wonderful things. Singing is so wonderful, so critical, and it touches people's souls. Again, this will be on Knowledge College website and probably tomorrow. And you guys can look at the PowerPoint. That thing will probably, if it works, I guess it's working, huh? The video. So that'll be up on the website at some point. And we hope to do more training. I hope this is real helpful for you guys. Again, may God encourage all of us that we understand why we exist, what our mission and purpose it is, and the calling that we have as deacons, that we're doing a whole lot for the kingdom of God, fulfilling the purpose for which we were called. All right? Yes. Sir, why don't you close us in prayer?
Father, thank you so much for the time that these people have put in for the help that we need for serving. And let us use it to the best of our knowledge and continue to grow in this field. In your holy precious name, Father, we thank you.
Thank you for taking time out of your